If you can believe it, we're at challenge number 4 in the next Dark Star competition. And we have gone from I'm going to introduce you in a minute, but Carol, I want to give you a little background on what's happened with the next Dark Star.
Yeah.
When we started, there was a general submission request of anybody who wanted to be in the running to be like the next Dark Star. In other words, we were looking for the next generation of great narrators,
Yeah.
the best narrators that you haven't heard yet.
Right.
And so we got about 130 submissions of people who wanted to be in the competition, and it was up to Brandon and Tessa and myself to narrow it down to the top 20. That turned out to be an impossibility.
Yeah.
We had it was so hard because everybody was they were very talented, very motivated, and so many different stages of experience up to 10 audiobooks. You couldn't have more than 10 audiobooks under your belt. And some people had 0 audiobooks under their belt. And so it was it was all like newer narrators. So we got down as best we could. We whittled it down to 26. So we had 26 contestants that made that first round, and we had an initial challenge for them that featured no mentors. It was just like, let's get an idea of your raw acting ability, your raw talent.
Yeah.
And the challenge was called acting. So we had this scene that they did, and that was when the popular votes started to come in, where people were just giving us their favorite performers, and we got down to the top 16. It was actually supposed to be the top 15, but I got to save. I mean, in every one of these challenges, I'm allowed to identify if needed, if I agree with all of the, if the person that I felt needed to be into the next round happened to make it, then I wouldn't have a save. It was just, those would be the people who have gotten in. So we ended up with 16. We had the top 16 people. We did the first challenge, and that one was with our first round of mentors. We needed four mentors. We had some great mentors: Samantha Brentmore, Teddy Hamilton,
Oh, wow.
um, uh, Vanessa Moyen,
Hmm.
and Julie Huss. And they gave these contestants their takes on what would make a great, what would help them to accomplish their first challenge. That first challenge was called Gender Bender.
Ah,
Gender Bender was really cool because it gave you the chance to do the opposite voice, the opposite gender voice, in addition to finding a good a good voices for your secondary and tertiary characters,
oh,
because
good.
like you have to be able to have easily differentiated characters if you're going
Yeah.
to be a narrator.
Yeah.
So we went through that, got down to our top, I think, 11 contestants, and that challenge was called Sexy Time. Because if you're gonna be a a romance narrator, you got to be able to do a pretty convincing and sexy and compelling sexy scene. So we did that, and we that's and so we ended up with our 7 contestants, and you have 2 contestants right here. Now
Right.
let me tell you. So we have Blanca Frappier and Zach R. And today is Wig Day, by the way. I wasn't aware of this, but today is Wig Day. So Zach really does look like Slash from Guns N'
Yeah,
Roses,
he does.
wearing his AC/DC shirt.
Right.
And Blanca just looks so cool. I mean, if you didn't tell me that you were wearing a wig, then I would say, oh wow, you changed your hair color. That's so cool. So Now, let me tell you a little bit, Blanca and Zach, uh, about your mentor. Um, you couldn't you couldn't ask for a better mentor than Carol Monda. She has 3 decades of acting, stage, on camera, and voiceover and audiobooks, and has she's performed at the Kennedy Center, the Manhattan Theater Club, the Woolly Mammoth Theater Company, and of course you've done television commercials and documentaries and promos. You've been a promo voice for Turner Classic Movies and the Discovery Channel and McDonald's, and you've done it all.
Oh,
And you've won some pretty amazing uh, awards in your audiobook career as well. You have over 400 audiobooks under your belt, yeah?
yeah, yeah. Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you. That's a nice intro.
We are so lucky to have you, Carol.
Oh,
Thank
I
you
feel
for
so happy to be here, really.
it really is it really is a treat, and I love it just warms my heart to see, like, these narrators are, their hearts are in it, and they are so good at taking direction and internalizing all of the wonderful direction that you give them, uh, and you hear it. You'll hear it in their submissions.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, this is so cool.
all right. So now let's talk about our challenge. This is challenge number 4.
Okay. Wow.
Challenge number 4 is we had to figure out a PG way to retitle this, but it's called Mate, Marry, Murder. And
Mood.
so we have murder. We have three scripts, fairly short scripts, in which our contestants are going to make you fall in love with them and want to marry them, or want to mate them because they're so hot. And a script that we're going to they're going to make you despise them and make you love to hate them, and that's what we're coaching them on today. Mate, marry, murder. So let me tell you about our scripts. I've got the scripts up here. I'm going to pull them up uh, on my monitor,
Okay.
and there's 2 sets of scripts, one for Blanca, one for Zach, and these scripts are they're pretty cool. We've got 2 scripts from J.T. Geisinger. J.T. Geisinger is really good at writing sexy time copy, and also very heart heartstring tugging copy. So those are the mate and the marry scripts, and then we have like a special one from an author named A. Dark.
Huh.
And A. Dark earns her title, and she can write some pretty dark romance. And we have 2 different characters that they're going to give us from A. Dark. So how about, since the last competition was, or the last challenge was the sexy time one, we'll save the mate section for the last. For this one, let's start on a sweet note. Right? We'll eat our dessert first, and we'll do the Mary section with one from J.T. Geisinger's Brutal Vows. Now, do we have a preference? Does anybody want to go first, or shall I just say, since Blanca is sitting right next to me on my screen, that we should go with Blanca? What do you think? You good with it? All right. So we're going to go with Blanca first, and she's going to give us her Mary scene from JT's Brutal Vows, and she plays the part of Reina Caruso. And I'm going to mute my mic. And Carol, real
Yeah.
quick, I want to let you know, I don't know what your style of coaching is, and that's another thing, guys. Carol is she is a coach. She's a narrating and voiceover coach, and has a pretty busy schedule doing that, because a lot of people like to hire Carol to coach them. So anyway, whatever your style is, Carol, if you want to interrupt in the middle of the script, feel free to do so. Or if you want to just listen to it all the way through and take notes and then deliver them, then that's it's your prerogative.
Okay. Okay. And shall I ask if there's a preference among the talent? I
Yeah,
mean,
what do you think, Blanca? Which one do you prefer?
Anything works. I love all the different coaching styles, so I'd love to get to know the different coaching styles so that like if I'm ever in a situation I can, learn from that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, great. So
Hmm.
I'll just do what feels right in the moment, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All
All
right.
right, Blanca. Whenever you're ready, we'll follow your lead. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Uh, okay. Sweating, trembling. I lower my head to Quinn's chest. "You're okay, love," he says, sounding shaken as he rocks me in his arms. "You're okay. I've got you." The sheets are in tangles all around us. I must have been thrashing. I wonder how long it took him to wake me up. He kisses my head, then takes my face in his hands. His eyes search mine. "You are having a nightmare."
So let
My
me just
voice.
stop for one moment. Um,
Mhm,
so because we understand from the beginning that he's a little shaken, let
mhm.
let that carry
Come out.
into his delivery a little bit more. Let that reality of where he is, emotionally, I guess I would say, or anxiously, um,
Mhm. Come through.
inform the delivery. Okay,
Okay. Um,
just from I guess the sheets are in
mhm.
tangles, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
The sheets are in tangles all around us. I must have been thrashing. I wonder how long it took him to wake me up. He kisses my head, then takes my face in his hands. His eyes search mine. "You were having a nightmare." My voice raw, I say, "Enzo." He winces. Oh, crap. He gathers me into his arms and holds me until my ragged breaths have slowed to normal, and I'm no longer quaking with dread. What can I do? Just this. I'll be okay in a minute. He exhales heavily, then pulls the blankets up, holding me with one arm. He settles us back against the pillows, tucking my head under his chin and wrapping his arms and legs around me so I'm cocooned in his warmth. We lie like that in the dark, breathing together for a long time. It could be minutes or hours. I don't know. Eventually, an odd feeling overtakes me. After examining it for a while, I realize it's peace. I've never felt peace before. In all my 33 years, I've never known what it's like to find shelter from the storms that have always followed me. I've been lost at sea for so long. I thought that's what it meant to be living.
That's lovely. So I would just say play with some other avenues of uh, tension for you, and that doesn't necessarily mean nerves, just the stakes being high, and the difference in your experience from being awoken to your voice being, you know your voice is going to be raw, um, uh, and I don't mean necessarily that you didn't have a rawness, but it could be more of a discovery that you feel like, even though you haven't really spoken, but you probably know that your throat is raw. Maybe that's, if you can think of it that way. Um, and then, what does it feel like when he gathers you into his arms, and maybe it's not peace yet, that you discover that later. And I think you did a gorgeous job with "You've Never Felt Peace Before." That, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, that was
I
really,
noticed that too. I mean, it was really, I think that, it feels like that's what that script is looking for, is that moment where, it is like it just dawns on you. This is what peace feels like.
yeah,
That was a really good delivery of that line.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm just saying, maybe find more colors, more levels throughout, just so that we can see this unfolding toward that final realization. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
More of a journey.
Yeah, more of a journey. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those are, yeah, I think those are great notes. I'm going to beat a dead horse, all the way through through these challenges. I've invited the contestants to use those tools of pace and beats and inflection to add variety to the script. When you have moments in, like maybe it's just those first three lines in the script where you're just waking up from this incredible, terrible, vivid nightmare, and you're tangled up in the sheets, and I mean, those kinds of feelings are like what bring you out of this, out of this nightmare, to find that his arms are around you.
Yeah.
And it's, it will allow you to, it makes it, more, even more touching to know that um he's there and he's taking care of her, because then, so you can start fast and then slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's a good thought too.
Mm-hmm.
And that, with regard to beats, um, I think part of the prep can be, or the continued prep. I'm sure you prepped, obviously, but that anytime there's a change in action or mood or tone, which is kind of like the feeling of it. So mood and tone are sort of, they are siblings,
Mhm.
but anytime there's a change in topic, mood, or action, think of it that way. Um,
Yeah.
those are great opportunities to shift.
You did such a great job too, Blanca, in using, using those non non-scripted vocal cues to give us a feel of how you were feeling at that moment of time. I mean, I heard a sigh before you mentioned one of the, one of the things that you said, and
Yeah,
it really does. A few of those things sprinkled in go a long way. One of the things that you might start playing with is using your microphone as
Mm-hmm.
your art, as an artist's tool. And so maybe when you say my voice raw, I say Enzo. Feel free to reach, to come in close to the microphone, and it allows you to just kind of like, you can make your voice a little raspy and as if you're just waking up, because if you get closer to the microphone, you get a little proximity effect. You
yeah,
can speak lower and kind of Enzo. You could make your voice a little bit more raw, and that will allow you to just technically deliver a little bit more of the mood that you're experiencing.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have to get
Okay.
more comfortable with the mic because I think mouth noises really, I'm one of those people where I hear my own mouth noises so much that like when I'm,
Mhm.
even if I'm narrating, the minute I hear like a pop or a click, I immediately pull away.
Mhm.
And so I've been trying to work on ignoring those and not
good.
leaning away from the mic to avoid those because it doesn't, I mean, they'll pick it up no
Mhm.
matter what. But yeah, that's something I'm trying
Yeah.
to not hear.
There's the kind of a rule of thumb, as your, if you're in your if you're in your room, if you put about this much space,
Mhm.
between your mouth and the pop filter or the microphone,
Mhm.
that's a good, amount of space that gives you um, the articulation that the microphone needs, but it also doesn't pick up as many of those little pops and clicks and things like that.
That's right.
Mhm.
And it's also helpful that it's a bit on your side. That also can
Mhm.
minimize some of the pops. But it seems like it is a bit far. Like if you do the Italian,
Yeah. Hey.
um, yeah, it's, I don't know. It
It's
looked like
like
it was.
yeah, it's pretty far. It's
Yeah, maybe just bring
Just
it
a hair
in,
closer.
or yourself, either when.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that could help too. But I think
Yeah.
I think that explains a lot, and it
Mhm.
also explains your volume, which I think is necessary with audiobooks, the
Yeah.
intimacy.
Hmm.
People are so intent on, performing that
Mhm.
it's really loud. And, people are listening with earbuds, so they're
Right.
clunking around in their skull.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
but so there's something really good about the intimacy, but you can use more dynamics
Mhm.
too if you try to just say thank you for sharing, you know, head of mine.
Mhm.
I'm not going to worry about these noises because
Yeah.
there are technical things that pass filters and things like that
Mhm.
that can reduce those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that will be helpful to you if you notice that so it works on pops as well as sibilants. If you feel like your voice is too sibilant, the way that
Hmm.
you have your microphone is really good because if it's a little bit off axis, like if the microphone is like you know what is that, perpendicular to your mouth, then it will catch a lot of sibilance. Now
Yes,
if you feel like there's too much sibilance, then you can move it a little bit like this, and it doesn't catch it. It doesn't make those s's don't are not as shrill. So
exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
but that's, and then yeah, you can just practice and play with it and see what see what sounds best to you. But all in all, I think it sounded really good.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. I think just allowing yourself to even even more have
Mhm.
have that uh, kind of immediacy of what's going on for you.
Yeah,
Hmm.
take chances. Yeah, I mean, it's
Hmm.
like it's fun to take chances because like if you like just dive into the emotion and you experience the manuscript or the story as you're reading it, uh, I think that's what makes narrating so much fun.
Yeah,
You know, it really makes it a an immersive experience, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I've already got an hour's worth of finished audio here. That's nice. I like that.
yeah.
So, all right, Zach, are you ready to rock and roll with your
You know it.
Mail Mary
Mel
uh
Mary.
My Mail
Mail
Mary.
Marry Me?
Yeah.
All right,
Do I
I'm ready
sound
for
clear?
you.
No. Ugh. I groan, kissing her. I'm sorry for every stupid, arrogant thing I've said and done since we met.
Can you
For...
just turn up a bit?
Yeah,
Great. Sorry. Thanks. And let me see where your mic is quite far away from you.
I'm well, just. The mic is just behind the pop filter there, and I'm just about
Okay.
at distance.
Okay.
Does that sound better now, though? Louder?
It is a little louder. Yes, it
Okay.
is the
I can go up
microphone at
more.
about the same angle as the pop filter?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's, well,
Okay.
so the bottom of the mic is slightly above the bottom of the pop filter here, but it's
Mhm.
angled
Okay.
down
That's
towards
good.
me.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
All right.
yeah. Let's try it that way. I think you're more audible now.
All right. I went up a couple more notches, so hopefully that's a little better.
Good.
Okay.
Good. All right.
Good deal.
All right. No. Ugh. I groan, kissing her. I'm sorry for every stupid, arrogant thing I've said and done since we met. For every time I was rude. For how I've acted. For screwing. I don't even know what. For being a man. But most of all, for forcing you to marry me. Jesus Christ, what have I done? What have I frickin' done? I leap from the bed, holding my head in my hands. She sits on the bed and silently watches me pace back and forth for a moment. Then she stands, pulls the veil out of her hair, tosses it to the floor, and steps out of the dress. It slithers down her legs and pools at her feet, sighing softly as it settles against the carpet.
Okay. Stop there for a moment. So that whole section, really see it and paint that picture for us, but mostly as long as you're really vividly seeing it and reacting to what's that like. I mean, first of all, she's uh just revealing something by being naked, that she's got even more of these scars, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so there's that, but there's also like, oh my god, you're so beautiful. um
Yeah.
right? So track each sentence, let each sentence really mean something unique.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things is when you first start prepping your script and you're reading it to really read it to understand
Mm-hmm.
what's happening and what your man is going through as he goes through this thing, because he's there's this whole angsty part of the very beginning, um but then like there's a whole shift when she stands, pulls the veil out of her hair, and steps out of the dress. This is like when he is just, oh God, like he feels like he's seeing a goddess
Yes.
in
Mm-hmm.
front of him, and he sees this, and he's smitten, um, and and then he sees more scars,
Mm-hmm.
which makes him, all the more sad,
Yeah.
um, of what she had to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and it does seem, just lastly, that in the previous section that isn't highlighted, that there is that
Mm-hmm.
sense of she's confessing this to you, or sharing it with you, and your reaction is so viscerally protective and horrified, and that you can let that bleed into the beginning of the scene. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Sure. Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Would you like me to take it from the top or start with
What do
kind
you
of I
think?
leap from the bed or she sits?
Yeah, I think I leap from the bed. I think that's good.
Okay.
Good.
What do you think, Troy? Should we start from the top? I
I
mean,
definitely wanted to hear from the part where she sits on the bed and silently watches me,
yeah,
because that's where it like really shifts. But yeah, I think that would be a good thing to, I leap from the bed is a great place, because it kind of picks up where the angsty part left off.
Mm-hmm.
exactly, exactly.
Right.
Okay, good, good. Yeah.
All right. I leap from the bed, holding my head in my hands. She sits on the bed and silently watches me pace back and forth for a moment. Then she stands, pulls the veil out of her hair, tosses it to the floor, and steps out of the dress. It slithers down her legs and pools at her feet, sighing softly as it settles against the carpet. She stands in front of me bare, except for a simple pair of white cotton panties. And more effing scars. On her stomach, across her ribs, under both breasts. Her arms and legs are smooth, and so are her chest and neck, but the rest of her body is marked with the ghosts of her past, 100 mementos of suffering. It's like looking at tombstones in a graveyard. I've never cried in my adult life, but I think I'm about to break that record.
Let's uh,
Watching my...
let's just go after with the ghosts uh, 100 mementos. Sorry, of
Mhm.
suffering. Um, whenever you've got a simile, or a like a like or an as, um, we don't normally talk that way without thinking first. We don't automatically come up with, it's like looking at tombstones, you know.
Mhm.
So even if it happens in the space, in the quiet between the sentences, allow that discovery. It's like, you know, um,
Great idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like,
good.
like that just occurred to you.
right.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe just back it up a titch,
I will.
Okay,
Did my white balance just freak out for anybody else?
You
yeah,
look like you're ready,
I,
bow chicka bow
yeah,
bow.
yeah,
that,
right.
that a little weird,
Put
but
up
You're
the
you're
red
open for
light.
business.
I know. The red light district all of a sudden. We haven't
Yeah.
even gotten to
Exactly.
mate yet.
We're in Amsterdam now.
That's right.
um, all right. Her arms and legs are smooth, and so are her chest and neck, but the rest of her body is marked with the ghosts of her past, 100 mementos of suffering. It's like looking at tombstones in a graveyard. I've never cried in my adult life, but I think I'm about to break that record. Watching my face with shining eyes, she says softly, Don't you dare look at me with pity. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm alive. There are millions of other women just like me who weren't so lucky. I exhale a disbelieving breath. Lucky. Yes, she says vehemently, and grateful and determined I'll never waste another second of this life I won. So get your Irish ass over here and take me, or I'll divorce you so fast it'll make your head spin. Later on, I'll look back and realize this is the exact moment I fell in love with her. But for now, I simply obey my Viper's command and take her back down to the bed.
Nice, nice.
All right, good job, Zach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, just a few thoughts. From the beginning, allow, you know how very soon you're going to be pacing back and forth. So, this is such brand new information, and it's literally branded on her body.
Yeah.
So this is what fuels that, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for what you've been through. Not that you say it here necessarily, but that's that's the subtext, right? Is that okay? So then there's only you to blame, which is it's coming from a very sweet place, and it's really sort of more than is called for, but it's really provocative to me that you've got this, like, oh my God, knowing this now, it's like, oh, I've been, on occasion I'll cut her off, or, probably something really innocuous, but or innocent. But that's something that you can really connect with, the idea of, like, I'm so sorry. So that in a way, that's making you leap from the bed, the realization of what you've freaking done.
Yeah.
But then I think there's an opportunity for her quiet. How is it? She says softly later, after on her stomach, after you're noticing these scars that are continued throughout her body, that that it should make you, as you're describing it, it should make you almost not. We don't need to hear that kind of thing, a true crying, but that it's like each thing that you describe, her ribs, her breasts, her arms and legs are smooth, but that it's like a nightmare, like you are really racked with, her sense of, well, she's not suffering anymore, but the idea of what she must have been through.
Yeah.
And then there's that difference between speaking softly and then speaking vehemently. So she's like, I am woman, hear me roar, by the time she says yes, and grateful, you know what I mean? So that there's the softness first, where she's sort of tiptoeing around, I'm not a victim. But then there's this, you're damn right I'm lucky, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
allow.
Yeah, and that gives her like a whole different a different character voice than him, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
he's this scene, he's kind of losing it. He's kind of like out of control. He doesn't know what to do, and he
Yeah.
just wants to fix it, but he doesn't know how. She's the one who fixes it. She's the one who
Right.
says, "You damn right, I'm lucky, and I'm grateful." Like, she's the voice of reason. He's the one who's kind of like, the
Yeah.
chihuahua in this scene.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I think
It's
that's
like
good.
he's seeing these scars and he wants to, like, not literally like reopen them for her, but it's like because he's experiencing them for the first time. It's like he wants in this moment for her to be
Yeah.
back in that moment with her, or with him, and she's just like,
Mhm.
look, I'm lucky. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Right. Right.
That's it.
Yeah. So the only other note I'm going to give you before we move on, because we've got two more scripts to go through,
Okay.
is Zach, I noticed that you invest a lot of emotion in your lines, and
Mhm.
so I would like you to be more judicious with where you place that emotion, because if it's all very dramatic, then none of it is dramatic. So um, save those uh, very emotional moments for when they'll make the most impact, and uh, draw the distinction between your internal monologue and your external monologue,
Yes.
and
Okay.
that will help as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a great idea.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is a fun one because, like, I don't know why I'm like so drawn to like the demented psychotic characters, but those are like the most interesting to me, is the ones where you're like, holy hell, this guy or this girl, what is wrong with this brain? But Blanca, we're going to take you to this scene from AA Dark's 24690, and a little bit of backstory here. 24690 has been the protagonist through the entire story, and she has been under the control of these sadistic slaveholders during the entire story. Well, now she's getting her revenge, and this is her moment to enjoy every moment of it. So this is from 24690.
Nice.
You ready? All right.
There we go. Okay. When I dropped to rest on my forearms so I could be closer to his face, a deep sigh left West. And again, he fought against the ropes. No, I said, trailing the flat end of my blade along his cheek. You're too much of a coward. Sorry, I can't hear you. Were you saying something? I put my weight against his shoulder and the side of his head as I began slicing the blade down around the top of his eyebrow. The yell was gargled and loud, vibrating me as I cut around, lowering a good 2 inches below the side of his eye. You let Billy do it, then eliminated that guard to make yourself look like the hero. You, a hero. Again, my mad laugh filled the room. My husband, always wanting to be in the spotlight, wanting to be the leader, the one everyone looks up to. Did Bram make you feel so inadequate you had to have everything he did? That you had to kill him and take over his life so that you could feel like you were worth something? I can see that. I moved my focus to the flattened blade and began slicing the tip under the skin to separate it from the muscle. Thrashing had the blade cutting across his cheek, and I lifted enough to slap him. Stay still, or you'll lose an eye. I want you to see what I've done when I'm finished.
Good.
Great
Nice.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. I would would say that there's a thing I'm hearing in this particular piece that happens in or starts happening in the paragraph that starts, sorry, I can't hear you. Were you saying something? Which was awesome, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so it starts with, I put my weight. There's a kind of, you enter the sentence with a good pace, a good, we can follow you pace, and then you speed up really quickly, and then sort of slow it down for the end of the sentence. I don't know if you notice that or hear that in yourself, but the antidote would be, let things like, even the word and, I put my weight against his shoulder and the side of his head. I mean, I don't mean you should slow it there, but just really track your movements here, that you're against his shoulder and then and the side of his head, and then you start slicing. Like, let each of those things be really teased out.
Yeah, to make the picture more graphic.
Yeah. and to make each action sort of, it'll help you to have this mounting anger, murderous kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
impulse. Um, but I also love the humor that I mean, the writing is great with the oh, I
Mhm.
can't hear you. What?
Mhm.
That kind of stuff is really nice. But yeah, I think so that it doesn't all sound like the same kind of anger. If
Mhm.
you really pay attention to each sentence and how they build to the final
Mhm.
moments, that would give you more travel room if you know what I
Mhm.
mean.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's my one note would be what you're doing sounds like good instincts on how that script is going. Just give us more of that. Like start, really play with that and dive into it. Don't be afraid to take those chances. And I think that I think you made some great choices. The
Yeah,
laugh in there, when you were like, you a hero, that was
yeah,
great.
that
I thought that
was
was
that was
really,
really
really nice.
yeah.
So, all right, now let's hear. So, okay, so this is West who's getting his. Now let's find out why West deserves this star treatment from 24/690. You ready to do your part?
Oh, yeah. I'm really glad now to know what's coming to this guy.
Yeah, yeah. So that gives you that gives you permission to earn that
Yeah.
pain you're about to get.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
All right.
Hold on one sec. I'm sorry. I'm just having trouble with the text.
No worries.
Thank you. One moment. Okay. I think I'm on it.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Good dreams. The grin turned genuine as she moved into my forearm, snuggling her face back into me. I don't know. I really can't remember. No? That's too bad. You sleep so sweet. I bet you're just as beautiful when you scream. Let's find out. Be sure to cry out for Bram again. Maybe he'll come rescue you. Everly's eyes flew open and her attention jerked to me. I ripped the pillow out from behind her head and slammed it over her face. Muffled screams were automatic. Nails clawed into my arms and her legs went wild, pressing into the bed as she tried to twist herself free. But it was impossible with the hold I had on her face. Bram! Bram! I yelled out loudly. Where are you? My wife needs your help. I waited out the time, then lifted the pillow, letting her gasp for breath when I noticed her movement slowing. That's who you want, right? Bram? Not me. Maybe I should call to him again. No, no. The end was cut off as I pushed the pillow back over her face. At her lack of fighting, my rage eased into anger. I took a calming breath, holding a few more seconds before I removed it once again. Her intake of air was loud. My hands shot down over her shoulders, trapping her from moving. I had such a good day planned for us, and now you've ruined it. You're mine. This, I said, tapping against her temple, belongs to me. If you don't get Bram out of your head, I'll smother him out. Do you understand me? I didn't know, she rushed out. Yes. Good.
Nice. Really good.
Man, I was hearing Jack Nicholson in there. I was expecting you to
Yes.
say, "I don't want to hurt
Here's
you,
Johnny.
Wendy.
Yeah.
I just want to bash your brains
Bash your
in."
brains in. Mhm.
Oh, that's right. That's great. Um,
Shining
so,
lighting.
so the thing I would say overall is you're really connecting nicely to the menace of it, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you could pepper it with the more than just menace, but the thrill that you get from
Mm.
you
Ah,
know
yes.
the smothering and or the the playing with the Bram thing. I mean that actually that whole section is great with the Bram.
I love that.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just when there are other ways of torturing her, that you can sort of shift them a little bit and make them not just menacing but really really mad.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. I think that you did a really good job of kind of embodying what motivated this guy. I mean, he was insanely jealous of Bram, and you could tell you were very pissed, and that was nice. One thing that you could do to help to make it even more diabolical is find a way to make him like so sweet and likable in the beginning of that scene, where he's like, there she is. She's just like dreaming, and she's just coming, she's kind of waking up, and there he is, just kind of looking at her with a sweet look on his face, and saying, "Good dreams." Like she's got no concept of
I
how much danger she's in at that
Yeah.
moment in
Right.
time.
Right.
Yeah. I do. I like
That's
that. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Especially because you were so goddamn diabolical when when
Yeah.
you're like in getting into the bad part.
Yeah.
Um, it
Can you
was
tell I like playing villains?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, good job on that. I think that you did
Thank
a
you.
great job of like channeling what needed to come out of that you know out of that scene.
And I would just say one more thing, which
Yeah.
it didn't really happen with the I don't know, I really can't remember. But when you've been smothering her and she says no, and then later the I yes, um, careful not to go too falsetto,
Mm.
especially because her air is cut off a little. So allow that to color the breath. I mean, sorry, the voice. Um, More than just the fact that she's a female.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
felt that in the
And
moment.
remember,
I
I mean, you're recording.
hit that
I
wrong.
mean, you
Yeah.
you're able to, you can stop and
Hmm.
like, find you know, the right reaction that she's got,
Yeah,
that she has. Um, and that also helps, if you're stopping and editing, just editing it, then, it allows you to like completely change the perspective of the person, especially if you're playing both parts.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, all right. So are you ready? You're ready to be seduced?
Oh yes.
We'll do sexy time um, with the mate section of this one. So we go back to JT Geisinger's Brutal Vows, because JT, she's one of the best at creating those really sexy scenes
Mm,
that you can kind of hear the music in the background.
yeah. And
Okay,
we're doing the male or
let's go back to Blanca.
yeah, yeah,
And so we can give Zach a little time to
yeah.
palate cleanse from his murderous tendencies, and
Good,
enjoy a different character. So
good,
this is yeah, this is the female portion of Raina's take on the sexy part.
perfect.
Okay. He looks around the room. Releasing me, he strides over to a desk on the opposite wall and pulls the chair out from under it. He sets it in front of me, sits down on it, whips off his tie and holds it out. When I take it, he rips off his suit jacket and dress shirt and flings them onto the floor. Stripped to the waist, he sits there staring up at me in fiery intensity, with his chest rising and falling, and all the tendons in his neck standing out. Hands behind your back, gladiator. He instantly clasps his hand behind the chair. I might lose consciousness from excitement. Stepping behind him, I wind the tie around his head, covering his eyes, and nod at him back. I bend down and kiss his neck, whispering into his ear. Will you be a good gladiator and keep your hands behind you? Or do I need to find something to bind them with? I'll be good, he says, practically panting. As a reward, I kiss his neck again, gently biting and then licking the sting away. He groans softly, fidgeting. When I straighten, I feel lightheaded. I walk around to his front and straddle his lap. Between my legs, his erection is enormous. Scratching my nails lightly over his shoulder, I whisper, "You're the most gorgeous gladiator I've ever seen. So strong. Look at all these beautiful muscles." He leans forward, blindly hunting for my mouth. I give it to him, thrilling at the animal sounds he makes when our lips meet. We kiss deeply until my hardened peaks are aching for his mouth, and the throbbing between my legs is unbearable. I stand, unzip my dress, and shimmy out of it. I remove my panties and kick off my heels. Then kneel down in front of Quinn and unbuckle his belt. When I've got his zipper down, his hardened manhood proudly jutting out from the top of his briefs. "Oh, gladiator, you're as talented as I've heard."
That's nice.
Good job, Blanca. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like you could just add the steam, just like when you're in a sauna, like just put the water on the rocks a little more, like
Mhm.
as it goes on.
Mhm.
That each sort of win that you get, each effect that you create, because this is such about your ego, right? This sense of I'm conquering him.
Yeah.
And so think I think you can really just own it even more and enjoy it even more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I would say is that there's I you could add more contrast between the internal monologue and the external in
Hmm.
a way that, and this is basically just like, you know, the way that you did it is a great choice. There's another way that you could do it, in which you could um, you could go a little bit further when you're in internal monologue, um, describing the things that are going on. And there's some parts in here where it sounds like, I mean, she's being so sexy when she's like, "Gladiator, you're the most
Hmm.
gorgeous gladiator I've ever seen." She's very sexy there, but in some of these things, when she's describing all of the things that she's doing, it sounds almost like she's like, "Oh, goody, 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 goody," like she's really getting off on this. I mean, it's and it is like,
Mhm.
this is making her heart pound, and this is really, really sexy as hell to her. So like inside, she can be a little bit, uh, wow, but outside, she's like, "I'm controlling this fucking gladiator."
That's it.
It's like
Mhm.
it's a real, you could make that a real dichotomy where like she's like pinging off the walls and just throbbing in the right places, and inside, but then outside she's like, she's in control.
Yeah,
She's got this beast under her control, and she's loving it, you know
yeah,
so I think that would, again, you know what you did was great,
yeah,
and I would encourage you to do even more, and take those chances, um, to make it even cooler, because it's a very sexy scene,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right?
absolutely.
Mhm.
And just a tiny thing. Let him almost pant. I mean,
Hmm.
you can honor that direction, quote unquote, um,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
with his voice. But uh, again, I almost heard you smile on as a reward, um,
Hmm.
and so I think you can give in to that. As Troy's saying, the inner monologue, the what you're describing to us versus what you're saying to him,
Hmm.
is can be, with a smile on your face, at least some
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, that's what really was kind of cool. to me, like reading this scene is like every time she talks to him, it's like bow, ba, bow, bow, ba,
Yeah.
ba, da, bow, bow. And then when she's talking to herself about how sexy this is, she's like dun 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 dun. Dun. It's like it's really fun. She's having a great time. So,
That's fun.
all right, are you ready for your part, Zach?
I am.
All right, Zach is going to seduce us, and here is Zach's point of view of a sexy scene.
All right.
A lot more tension in this one. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
We're staring at each other again. Both of us are breathing hard. She's got anxiety written all over her. I'm about to choke in my bloody bow tie, and my member is painfully straining the zipper of my trousers, throbbing with need just from looking at her. Looking at her and thinking, FML, how bad I want to be so deep in that. I lick my lips and step closer. So you thought I'd just accept this little switch of yours? You thought I'd have no problem substituting you for Lily? She gazes at me for a moment, then pulls the veil back over her head, exposing her face, and her chest, and her cleavage, and her shoulders, and her lovely long neck, on the side of which a vein erratically pulses. Christ, she's fucking magnificent. I almost groan out loud with desire. Examining the expression on my face, she says, yes. Because I'm no longer in complete control of my body, I step closer until we're only inches apart, and I'm staring down into her wide, beautiful eyes, watching her fight not to give in to the urge to run. Leaning close to her ear, my heart pounding like mad and my hard member aching, I murmur, if I marry you, Raina, I get to take you as hard and as often as I want. Oh my God, that's the deal, or there's no deal. She says sarcastically, should we add it to the contract? I pull away and gaze down at her. I've wanted you since the first second I saw you, stabbing me to death with those eyes from the bedroom window at your house. This fake marriage includes hookups, or it doesn't happen. She glares at me. Your charm could sweep a girl right off her feet, you know that? Wait till you see my manhood, then you'll really be swooning. Her whole face turns red, from her neck to her hairline. She presses her lips together into a thin line. I know that isn't a rejection. She's not saying no, which means she's saying yes. But she has to say it out loud. So, do you agree? Sounding as if she'd like to shove her bouquet down my throat, she says, yes, Quinn, I agree.
It's
All right,
good.
Zach. Good job.
Really
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was very nice and really traveled a lot of different places,
Mhm.
which was just great. Um,
Yeah, I
uh,
definitely made that effort.
Good. Yeah, it shows. That's the thing. If you're in it, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think uh, I think from the beginning, it kind of goes like in a way the act like you're being teased and it's like practically painful, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're just deciding to um, give her the complete once over,
Mm-hmm.
from the cleavage to the chest, etc.
Right.
Um, and and then I guess I would just say there's one more moment. Oh, yeah, that um, when you pull away and gaze down at her, it's on the
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, I think I think it's your final plea, and kind of it's kind of a threat.
Mm.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, because it seems like you want the fake marriage, you know, as long as it includes the um,
Right.
hookups. But clearly she must too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Zach, I would do when you're looking at a scene like this, and again, you know, just like Blanca was she was talking to herself. She's confessing this internal monologue, like
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in her mind,
Yeah.
but then what she comes out with out loud is a little bit different. She's like, "Oh, this is so cool," and then, "Hey, gladiator, let me control you." There's that dichotomy in her monologue. You're going through the same thing as Spider in this one here. Um, I would say, take a look at the script, and then kind of, see if you can't find an analogy when you're looking at a script like this. One of the things that came to my mind as I'm looking at this is, these two, they've got fire fire and ice kind of chemistry. They burn hot, and they
Mm-hmm.
they are just like, there's electricity every time they're near each other, but it's very combative and
Yeah.
banter, and I mean, they're like, there's a whole bunch of that. I don't want to want you as much as I want you, but god
Exactly.
damn, do I want you. And
Mm-hmm.
so, think about it. Have you you're pretty young. I don't know if do you own your house?
I do.
Did
Wow.
you negotiate for your house?
Yes, as much as
Okay.
I could. I bought at a very bad time for that, but yeah.
Okay. When you walk into the house, um and you're walking through, and you're like, "Oh my god, they've got a fucking pool."
Mm,
Jesus Christ, I love this backyard. I could put the dogs in the
hmm.
backyard, and that's where my studio could go. Oh my god. And then the realtor is like, "Well, what do you think?" And you're like, because he's paying. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a whole different thing. Well, this is what he's going through too. He's like, the opening scene is like, we're staring at each other again. Both of us are breathing hard. She's got anxiety written all over her. I'm about to choke on my bloody bow tie, and my member is painfully straining. Like, there's an opportunity to, like, set the scene that, like, they are close to boiling, both
Mm-hmm.
of them. And then, so it's like all of this internal monologue describes how overheated he is inside. And then what's the first thing he says? "So you thought I'd just accept this little switch of yours?"
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, "Come on.
Yeah.
Who do you think you're dealing with?" But inside, he's like, "FML, how bad I want to be so deep in that." You know, I think that there's opportunities for you to, like, flip the switch. I mean, you've got this, like, this is what's going on inside, and then this is how I'm playing it on the outside.
Yeah.
And I think that it can really add a whole bunch of depth to
Yeah.
that,
Yes.
to that story. And then another thing I'll give you is, don't forget that pacing is just like it's a huge uh, it's a huge tool in your palette. Using, flipping the pacing in your delivery can really, it's like, imagine, you've got your listener, um, you know, on a leash. I mean, that sounds kind of abusive, but you've got your listener right there, right? And you're like, "Let's go fast," and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll go fast." And then you said, "But wait, let's slow down," and they're like, "Oh, okay, what's next?" And then you're like, "Okay, run over here." It's a way to, people are hardwired to uh, to look for variety and excitement and change. And so if you give that to them, they will stay with you, and they won't get lulled into this. If you speak at the same pace all the way through the entire piece, then they will just kind of, like, get lulled into saying, oh, that Zach really has a nice voice, doesn't he? It's you don't want them thinking about your voice. You want them thinking about the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, one of the things that I would say that might be a little counterintuitive is like, usually when you say something slowly, it's like, I want you to hear everything I'm saying. However, you can make something stand out by rushing through it instead. So if you've got the same
Mm-hmm.
pace, like when you say, looking at her and thinking, FML, how bad I want to be so deep in that.
Hmm.
If you say that fast, it's like it gives them an idea of just how like much you want her, because it's like it's there it is, I'm saying it, I want you so bad. And you can do the same thing with that next line down here where you're like, Christ, she's fucking magnificent. Or you can even you can even groan in that part because you say, I almost groan out loud with
Hmm.
desire. Well, this is your
Yeah.
internal monologue, so you can be like, oh Christ, she's fucking magnificent. I mean, it can
Yeah.
be something that just kind of adds a little bit of extra spice to that line, and give them the idea that you know you're being all fucking cavalier when you're talking to her out loud, trying to play like you're being hard to get, but meanwhile you're a volcano inside.
Yeah.
You're ready to explode.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing to, well, first of all, the action, if you know, that's going to be what affects the pace or your choice of pace. So, like
Mm-hmm.
the idea of leaning close to her ear first, and then not long after pulling away and gazing
Mm-hmm.
down. Just those actions are, they're so opposing, and yet they're coming from the same place in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like you're fighting with yourself almost to stay in control, which I think the pulling away is in reaction to her sarcasm, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
also about, I got to get away from that woman's sweet breath. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
That kind of thing. So that urgency, as opposed, if you think of it as urgency as opposed to speed,
Mm-hmm.
it will become more buoyant, more fast, but
Mm-hmm.
it will also be fueled as opposed to just being fast. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's another thing. Your interplay with Reina is like, you're a Chihuahua, and you're like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I really, really, really want to get laid here. But then you're like playing it like, hey baby, like you're all
Yeah.
cool and calm and
That's right.
collected, with her. But then so there's a whole other completely like different paradigm here when Reina talks, and she's like, the first thing she says is, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like she's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Like she is just like, who do you think you are? I mean, I think that it's like really cool. Like, you know, JT's really good at that. She has this ability to really like take you on this journey, like love, hate, lust, love. She really does. I think that's the thing, is like she gives them such different personalities and such
Yeah.
chemistry, because it's like such different personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I would just make sure that you guys read the unhighlighted section just to get yourselves into those
yeah,
those
Oh
places.
yeah.
context.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm
I
sure
feel
you.
bad for you guys. I mean, we're like sitting
Lots
here
to play
just like
with.
giving you, oh, do this, oh, and do that, and then, oh, and don't forget this and stuff, and they're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I mean, I go back to golf because like I'm such a terrible golfer, and I try to like remember like, how do I do the perfect swing? How do I uh, duplicate that 300-yard drive that I just did? Um, and more often than not I slice into the woods. But it's this, it's like the same thing, like, okay, what do I do right? uh
Mm,
how do I make this happen? So I hope that we didn't overwhelm you with all of this stuff, but but I'm hoping that you'll be able to kind of take it, you know, step back and kind of like internalize it, and
Hmm.
then like after you sleep on it a little bit, let it rest. Like I would say, don't even look at this script for for the rest of the weekend,
Yeah.
and then
I have to
you know
submit it by uh I have to submit it in a day or two, but
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay.
sleep on it for sure.
yeah, give yourself a little
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
go do whatever you do. I mean, go play your guitar,
Hmm.
slash, or
Yeah.
go play some golf, or
Hmm.
football, or play with the kids, whatever it is
Yeah.
that that you can do to just kind of like take your mind off of it,
Yeah.
um and
Yeah.
so that it
It's a lot
comes,
of it's a lot of tools in the tool belt to get
Right.
comfortable with and
Right.
figure out how they fit in my hand and my voice and how to use
Yeah.
Mhm.
them.
And that's why overworking it at first is probably not as good as just allowing it to just process,
Yeah,
like sleep
Yeah.
on it literally in a
mhm,
Hmm.
sense, and
yeah,
then it'll all get in there.
yeah, yeah, stew on it, just kind of incorporate, and then the other thing is, all of this stuff is, it's free advice. Take it
Hmm.
for what it's worth,
Right.
and I mean, even if you're paying gobs of money for an acting coach, it's just advice. It's
Yeah.
just observations, and it's up to you to say, okay, I like that. I'll take that.
Yep.
I'll leave that to the side. Just do. It's got to be comfortable for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
That's right. And
this is
it's always subjective. Our feedback is completely,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
Hmm.
subjective. So your experience should be exactly connected to what works best for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm beyond grateful for it all, though. Thank you both so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you're so
Yeah,
welcome. Really a
more than
pleasure.
welcome. Yeah. How about you,
Yeah.
Blanca? Did you have any questions before we allow Carol to enjoy the rest of her weekend?
No, I loved it. I loved it all. I have really been loving all the feedback from each session. I actually went and redid an entire book that I was in the middle of
Oh,
from last session, just because I was like, you know what, the mic thing was it did when I was
oh,
editing it. I listened through in Isotope, and I was like, oh wow, that's very different. My voice is I
yeah.
have a very deep voice. I got made fun of for sounding like Cher and looking like a dude for
Oh my
most of
God,
my
I can hear
junior
you
high.
singing. Do you believe in life after
Yeah,
love?
exactly, yeah. It was awful. My nickname was Butch because people were like, "Are you
Oh
a
my,
guy or a girl?"
what?
Oh no, you've got a
Yeah,
you've got a beautiful voice.
and
Yeah,
so
I
I
mean,
talk a
whoever
lot
said that's an
higher
idiot. Yeah,
than I normally do.
Oh.
no,
Yeah.
Oh,
you have a
that's a
great voice.
shame.
Yeah.
I would explore after this is all over. I would explore, really like owning that voice. Whatever your natural voice is,
Hmm.
that's going to be the one that frees you to really connect, you
Yeah.
It's
know?
much deeper than this.
Yeah,
This
wow.
is my talking voice from junior high on because of
Oh,
that.
I'm so
But I
sorry to
also
hear
I
that.
also cut my hair to look like Halle Berry, so it was my own fault. I guess I did it to myself.
Oh, okay.
Um, so yeah, no, so I love the feedback. I love when you can like cut us off and be like, hey, no, start this again because there's a lot of times where we forget or we're not in that moment anymore.
Yeah,
And to be
Mhm.
able to be like, oh wait, okay.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. There's so much to learn.
yeah.
So no, I love it. I love it.
It's a really unnatural thing too to be sitting here reading. I mean, the audiobooks, well, acting, right? Carol, it's like acting is a very personal thing. You really are kind of like displaying yourself to the world in a very private way, but everybody is looking. And so
Publicly.
here you are
Yep.
on camera delivering these intimate scenes, and here we are going, you know what? Yeah, maybe you could, move your leg this way, and
Yeah,
it's not a natural thing. So,
right.
um, that's another thing. Like after when you get a chance to be alone in your booth again, then you'll probably have a much better time with this script.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I have questions about the next time. Do you
mhm.
want to just talk about that later, another time?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what. I can stop recording now. So
Okay.
we're basically, so Brandon's going to come and